With the Miyoo Mini and then the Miyoo Mini Plus, Miyoo was a company, not me and you. It had a bit of a lightning in a bottle kind of situation. People were clamoring to buy the Miyoo Mini. For a lot of people, it was an entry level emulation device, gateway drug kind of thing. I personally ended up getting the Miyoo Mini Plus as my very first emulation device. There was something about the form factor and the custom firmware built by the community of OnionOS being specific to this device that made it very joyful, whimsical, and just something that people really wanted. People were getting a ton and giving them to their friends and family. It was quite a wild little ride. And since then, I feel like from what I've been seeing and hearing, it's been a little bit bumpy for them as a company. I'm your cool Uncle Marissa, and today I have their newest device, which is the Miyoo Mini Flip. Not the Miyoo Flip, but the Miyoo Mini Flip. And essentially, it's just a Miyoo Mini in a different form factor, which already might raise some alarms. Now, this was sent to me by Litnix. It comes in a few colorways. This white one with the really cute pastel buttons. There's also a pink one, which I would have gotten. Unfortunately, it's like a salmon pink, not a pink that you would expect. I was hoping more like a powder pink, Pepto-Bismol pink, and there's also a black one for those who have no sense of joy. It was sent to me by Litnix to review. They don't watch my videos. I don't get paid for this, so all my opinions are very honest, very much my own. And if you are new here, my approach to reviewing emulation handhelds is as someone who prefers original hardware, and so I'm not really a spec focused, obsessed person. I'm not gonna get into technical details. It's more, is something easy and joyful to use as a device? Is it fun? Is it accessible? As opposed to getting into the really technical details. There's tons of people on YouTube who do get into the technical details. So if that's what you're looking for, you have a ton of options. So going to Miyoo as a company. So they had the Miyoo Mini. People loved it. They ran out of screens. And so then they made the bigger Miyoo Mini Plus. And then once they were able to, they found more screens, but they were different screens. And so that's why you have, if you look, you have like the Miyoo Mini V1, V2, V3, V4. I got the Plus first, and I actually ended up giving away my Miyoo Mini because I just felt like it was too small to be functional and slightly too big to be like an accessory, especially at the price point. It didn't do it for me, but it might have if I had gotten it first, you know? Then they had teased a really long time ago a flip version, a flip Miyoo, and that was a few years ago. And then they came out with the Miyoo A30, which was a horizontal little handheld that came out like at the same time as the Anbernic 28XX. I personally thought the aesthetics of the Anbernic one were much cuter, very much more candy-like, whereas the A30 had just, it looked a little, yeah. And then they did another alignment of release with the Miyoo Flip and the Anbernic with their two Game Boy Advance SP clones with the 34XX and the 35XX. I'm like so amazed I can remember all these numbers. And the Miyoo Flip had like hinge issues, and then there was that wonderfully infamous video of the Miyoo employee just shaking the heck out of the Miyoo Flip. I didn't try out any of those because I like my Game Boy Advance SP. It wasn't really that interesting to me. But when they finally came out with the Miyoo Mini Flip, which is teeny tiny version, doesn't have sticks, is much smaller than an SP. And Litnix asked if I wanted to try it. I said, of course, because look, it's cute. I like cute things. So it does take OnionOS. OnionOS has not been completely overhauled or anything for it. So it does have some issues. For example, the closing the lid to suspend is really glitchy. someone has made a fix for it. Even that is not perfect. I literally just close it right now and I can hear the audio playing. It might get fixed in the future by the OnionOS team. I'm not really sure. You can alternatively just turn off the screen suspend. But if you don't install the fix, you definitely want to turn off the screen suspend feature, because otherwise it goes to sleep randomly. You'll be playing and it'll just sleep. And I'll put a link to the fix in the description in case you are looking for it. And if we're going to start on this negative foot, I might as well also say that it does have Wi-Fi, which is something the earlier models of the Miyoo Mini were missing. And so that opens you up to like over-the-air updates and things like that, which is nice, and retro achievements for people who are into that. But when the Wi-Fi is on, the sound crackles. Why? I don't know. So it's kind of like, you should probably turn on the Wi-Fi, do the thing you were going to do, and then turn it off. Otherwise, you're going to get crackly audio. Apparently, that's a common thing. Why? I don't understand. And speaking of sound, it does not have a headphone jack. It has a USB-C jack, and they do, I don't know if every store does this, but they did send me a USB-C to 3.5 millimeter converter thing. But it's also just a very inconvenient place. Like, it would be nicer if it was down here so that it doesn't like twist around. And then in terms of that, also though, once you do plug your headphones in, the sound is still coming out of the device. So it didn't work. It didn't work. I don't have any USB-C headphones, so I wasn't able to test that. I don't know, but I don't see why it would be different. I looked that up. Someone's made a fix for that too. I did not get around to downloading it. There's just a lot of patching that you have to do yourself. So I would also recommend getting this, just unless you need to have an SD card sent to you, just build your own, because it's not any different than just pulling OnionOS off of GitHub, and then you can apply the patches, because you'll have to patch this anyway. And then my final functional gripe with it is it gets hot. It gets really hot, which is, I feel like that's stupid. This is such like a low-powered device. Oh, see? It's on, but it's not. The screen's not turning on, even though it has the fix. Yeah, it gets hot, and that feels really unnecessary on something so small and playing like Game Boy games or SNES or something. It's about $60 to $70. And for it to be that price, and it feels so dated. I'm not gonna lie, yeah, it looks cute. It's definitely an accessory. You wanna put this in your pocket and pull it out and show people, like, yeah, they're gonna be like, yeah, that's really cute. So yeah, you could hang it off with your keys or your backpack, and yeah, it's cute. People will be like, ooh, what's that? Is that what you want for 60, 70 bucks? These people go, ooh, what's that? Because it's like, it's a Miyoo Mini in a different form factor with problems. And maybe these problems, even the overheating possibly, could be fixed with updates to OnionOS. I don't know. Maybe wait until you find out. But it genuinely feels like they're beating a dead horse. Okay, yes, people love the Miyoo Mini. It's the same thing. Now it flips. Okay. And then we get to ergonomics. A big common little thing on my channel is me liking little things and people being like, that looks so uncomfortable. And it's like, right, well, comfort is subjective. So when I was holding this and playing, my fingers were not having a great time. And, you know, with two hands, that is. With one hand, you're probably fine, but like, what are you playing? I guess a lot of people play RPGs with just one hand. I was like, why is this annoying? Because I have a GKD Pixel and I thought that was great. I think the GKD Pixel is awesome. And the reason I've found is the buttons are really shallow. And because the buttons are shallow, your hand has to your finger has to push in further to press a button. And the GKD Pixel, the other small things like the Anbernic RG28XX, they have really tall buttons. And so because they have really tall buttons, you don't need to press in as much. You kind of just hit the button very easily. And so you're just having to do less travel and put less pressure on your fingers. Even just the regular Miyoo Mini and the Miyoo Mini Plus, they have tall buttons with tall membrane buttons, and that adds to the making them comfortable despite being smaller handhelds. But look, if you get past all of that, if you're like, you know, I'm not playing long sessions. Maybe I am playing a game where I just need to use one hand. It's very possible. It's very easy to get sucked into it. It really is. Like, it's very easy to just kind of forget all those things and play. So this is one of those things where it's similar to the GKD Pixel, my GKD Pixel review, but not quite as impassioned. I feel like, is it worth $60, $70? I think if you are really drawn to it, if you're like, this is adorable, I love how cute it is, I love that I can close it and not worry about the screen getting damaged and just keep it in my pocket. You know, my friends think it's cool. That was kind of cringe. That was like, I got my ears pierced and the piercer was like, don't touch your piercings and don't let any of your friends touch it. And I'm like, why? Why would my friends touch it? Why would you assume I have friends? So I'm sorry to assume that any of you have friends. That's worse. Anyway, no, I don't think this is a horrible product. I do think Miyoo's beating a dead horse, but I don't think they're entirely wrong for that because it is charming. And if you kind of just go in without expectation and start playing, you're gonna have a good time. However, if you are in a situation where you have things that are comparable when it comes to cuteness or the joy they bring you, then, you know, you sort of have that alternative and you have that point of comparison. But yeah, it's not always about that. Sometimes it's about what makes you happy. And this is one of those things where I'm like, I could see this making a lot of people really happy, even though it has all these flaws. And a lot of the flaws, like the issues with the suspend, overheating, the crackles in the Wi-Fi, some of these things are negligible. Like you can just not use the suspend. You can just keep Wi-Fi off when you don't need it. At the same time, on a more logical level, don't love that the sound crackles when the Wi-Fi is on. Don't love that it overheats. Don't love that it's the same price as previous iterations without really any upgrade and just kind of solely relying on the passion of people towards the Miyoo Mini, relying on OnionOS, which is a community-built custom firmware. So I know that's not really much of a conclusion, but in a way, I think it reflects how I feel about it as well. Like, if someone gave this to me, no sight unseen, no prior knowledge, I would be like, this is adorable. And, you know, when I do spend enough time with it, I do warm up to it. And then my hands get warmed up because it starts running hot. But at the same time, there's all these shortcomings, both on a technical level, both on like, so it's very, very hard for me to decide. And I feel like that's why I'm like, this ultimately comes down to how much do you love this? Because there's a lot to love, maybe a little misplaced though. All that being said, ultimately it's up to you to make up your mind. If you have tried the Miyoo Mini Flip, let me know what you think about it. Is it one that pulls on your heartstrings? Or is it one that disappointed you or frustrated you as well? Or are you like me, somewhere in the middle? Big thank you to Litnix as always for sending this over. You can use my affiliate link in the description to buy whatever you want from their store. It doesn't have to be this, it can be anything. And that also helps the channel. If you would like to join my Ko-fi, your name will scroll by in future videos and you'll get access to game reviews as I finish games and then ramble about them and other random tidbits. It's $2 a month and it's a big help. I also have a live stream plug. I've been doing live streams on Twitch to raise money for my cat who was in the ICU. I mean, it's not directly for him, it's for his ICU bills. It was like $15,000. That's a lot of money. The GoFundMe QR code is here if you just want to donate and you're like, I'm not going to sit through a stream. The streams are kind of to raise awareness for that, and any money that I get via Twitch through like subs or anything, I'm also allocating to that. I've been streaming some gameplay. I've been playing Fallout New Vegas and folks have been helping me with it because I've never managed to get through it. I've gotten farther now than I ever have before, but I've also been streaming smaller mods and repairs. Like I modded a Game Boy Advance, I fixed a Wii disk drive, I troubleshooted a PSP Go. If you have something that you'd like me to take a look at on stream, also DM me on Discord or send me an email and let's talk about it. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and do not forget that you are always welcome at Cool Uncle's house. I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.